How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This is Roberto Senior and Junior from Parramatta Machine Shop. And today we are going to continue our engine build. So if you've been following the channel in the last couple of months, we've been building our drag car TEGAN. And in the last video, we assembled our bottom end. In this video, we're going to be reconditioning our B18 head. And just a very standard recondition, and then hopefully fitting it to the block. So yeah, let me show you guys what I've done so far. All right, so it's been quite a process so far. We've been doing a lot of cleaning in the last couple of nights, and I've just been trying to keep organized because there's a lot of little bits which goes into this head. So here we have all our rocker arm assembly. It's all been cleaned. All our bolts there, the factory bolts as well. Got some of our valves here. So we've just done the exhaust side, and I've really cleaned them up because I really want to get a nice finish on them, get all that carbon off. So I'll throw a few photos up of how they were looking before. And we still have a couple more to do, and we've got our intake valves right over there ready for cleaning. In the past couple of nights, I've been just throwing everything into our ultrasonic cleaner. So, you know, these things have been great. This is only, I believe, a 2 or 3 litre one. And if you don't have space for like a parts cleaner, you can just use something like this to degrease and clean. I generally just throw a bit of fuel in there, a bit of acetone, a bit of this ammonia, and leave it in there for about...
Pneumonia?
Just pneumonia. A bit of this pneumonia, and then you just leave it in there for about 10 minutes, and everything comes off really clean. So yeah, you can see that, you know, that's all ready to go back into the engine. So I've just tried to number everything as well. So here we have the blue side is our exhaust. We've got our intake in the red, and just try to be systematic with everything we do so we don't mix our parts up. So we do still have a bit of cleaning to do. Heaps of cleaning. Pretty much most of the time we've spent building this engine has been cleaning.
Yeah. These do look amazing though. Yeah,
so I hope I wasn't too aggressive on it. This is an exhaust valve, and you can see the cake, the amount of carbon baked on there. And this has been through the ultrasonic cleaner and doesn't touch anything. It really just leaves it all baked on there. So yeah, I guess for the first part of this video, we're going to try to clean some of the valves.
Yeah, going to give it a try with a wire wheel.
Yeah.
And see if we try to rip some of that carbon off.
And while Chris is doing that, I've got a bit of a revision to do on our valve cover. So last night I went and welded on the bungs to our valve cover for our catch can. Chris has said we should probably put a baffle on the back of that. So we're just going to try to weld a piece of flat bar just so the oil doesn't just go pouring into the can. Alright, so Chris has gone and wire wheeled our valves, and it's already looking really good. To be honest, this is probably enough. But just to match the rest of our polished valves, I want to show you guys how to quickly do a polish on one of these. I'm using 400 grit sandpaper, just a roll from Bunnings. Just cut it up a little bit, just to make things quite even. We're going to throw it into our drill. Just be gentle with it, make sure it's nice and straight. Like that, and just into the tub, and then we just run the drill on medium to high speed. Sweet, I'm happy with that. We dry off with a nice towel.
Are you going to go show me your car with that towel now?
Yeah, and then I go and dry off the car with a towel. This is number 7, so exhaust valve 7. That's how I'm numbering them. Drop it in there. So that's all our valves on the exhaust side done. We'll just quickly go through the intake ones, and then they'll be ready for lapping. Beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Complete. All 16 valves. Excellent. I've also got the baffle welded on. Just waiting for that to cool down, and then we can hopefully get to painting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprinkle black.
Lunch break.
Yes, lunch break. So you get half a chicken.
All right, back from lunch, we got ourselves a few tools. Something Chris has done before is use this little, what is it?
It's like a Ryobi polishing rubber disc flappy thing. And it's like the 80 grit version. There's an 80, 120 and 180 grit, I think.
Yeah. And
that's just the perfect size to clean these intake ports and
exhaust ports. Yeah. And they're pretty crusty.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd work, but they got some brake cleaner going.
This is the perfect tool, I think, for these. On a little rotary tool.
Yeah. Look at that, snapped off.
So this is why you buy two of them?
Yeah, we want to, for this reason. What did they say about WD? It's not a lubricant.
That's not a lubricant, no. It's a water dispenser.
WD. It's the perfect lubricant. Look at that. So I've just done the exhaust ports mainly. The intake looks really clean already. If you're wondering how we stripped off the factory paint stripper normally works pretty well, but in our case we had an old bottle of gasket stripper which worked really, really well. This is a cool little trick
that I've learned over the years. Instead of spending hours masking up these grommet areas, get a 10-cent coin, an Australian 10-cent coin, and it's like the perfect diameter for these. Just jam it in there.
So we've gone with Dulux Wrinkle Black.
Hopefully it wrinkles.
Yeah.
It is an old can.
Yeah, it should be alright. I'm going to let it bake in the sun for a bit. Alright, so Chris and I have just been cleaning this and everything looks good. And what we need to do now before we go any further with the decking and also making sure it's ready to go onto the block is to block off the internal oil feed, which is on the B16s. So this hole is where the B16 block, originally from that motor, would supply oil feed to the head, and especially that VTEC solenoid to get VTEC. And because we are now doing the VTEC conversion, we are going to run an external oil feed line, which comes in this kit from AliExpress. So you get the sandwich plate, which goes between the block and the oil filter. You get the line, which goes to the head. And you get a couple fittings, some dowels, and you get this grub screw. It's a 1/8 MPT grub screw, so we need to drill that out to 8.5 millimeters. Then we can insert our grub screw. Here's a quick tip for tapping the head. Because the oil passage is quite shallow, you'll need a bottoming 1/8 MPT tap, or you can also do what I did and shave off the head of a standard tap bit. Oh yeah. It's wrinkling up good now. How long's it been? Half an hour?
Yeah, about 30, 40 minutes.
Wow, it actually looks so factory. Really nice finish. There we go. Whoa. I think it might even wrinkle further. It does say it takes hours.
Yeah, it should wrinkle a tiny bit more than that.
It's nice. Happy?
Yeah, looks pretty good.
What have you got for us?
Bubble tea, brother.
Oh, bubble tea. So good.
Perfect for a Monday night.
I think it's worthwhile to show this, but these dowels, they don't fit over the the head studs very well. So what we've had to do is to sandwich it in a block of wood and then really just crank it down and drill as we go and just keep cranking it down. Some wax as well for lubricant. Drill it out to 11 millimeters.
Yeah, it's been about 8 hours today and all we've done is a valve cover and some dowels.
And a lot of problem solving.
Yeah, some cleaning.
Yeah.
Good effort, guys.
We're at the stage of lapping the valves, and what we're really trying to do is produce a really nice surface so that it seals nicely and we make maximal power. We've added some dye, you can see, to all the valve seats. We've also put some dye on the valves themselves where they would seat. And we're going to be using a bit of valve lapping compound to help us, I guess, grind those seats. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start adding some compound and then we're going to use our special tool. This is called a valve lapping tool. This is my first time doing it, so I'm going to give it a shot. So you see the valve seat there. It's like grayish compared to the very shiny valve. All right, so I have done 12 of the 16 valves on the other 3 cylinders. We're down to the last one on the coarse compound, and I wanted to show you just what I've learned so far from doing this, because it's getting better and better, each cylinder, each valve. The first step is to get this seated really nicely on the tool, nice and center as well. And once you've got the vacuum on it, you can go ahead and apply the compound on the back. I'm just putting a generous amount, seating it down. I'm just going to tap a few times just to get the compound evenly on it. And what I want to do is, when I rotate this tool, I really want to rotate it as straight as possible, because the more of an angle you put it on, I found that the tool moves or you're going to break that suction. So making sure we've got good suction to start. Just start off slowly and then you can distribute the sand across, tap. And when you tap, what I've found is that you tap and you rotate slowly to get the compound the most even as possible. And this way you don't have to keep reapplying compound over and over again. And just rotating the valve as you go. Once I've done a couple passes, I want to add a bit more compound. Nice and generous. Tap, tap, tap. You can hear the sand moving around. Keep changing up the rags as well. You want these nice and clean. So I'm just going to take off all the grease. The 2 surfaces look good, and that's the valve done. Today we're going to prepare the head for the final assembly, and we've checked the deck of the head. It looks pretty good, but I just want to give it a skim. So let me just quickly go and grab the belt sander. Nah, just kidding. That was just for you gullible people on Instagram. We're going to do the next best thing, and that's to clean up the deck surface. Just give it a little resurface. If you watched our previous block assembly video, you would have seen that we decked the block surface with this combination stone. So you can get this from Bunnings. It's used for sharpening knives, I believe. You've got a coarse surface on this side, we've got a fine surface on this side, and we just want to give the head deck a nice surface and maximize sealing. So yeah, just going to repeat the same procedure. Got a little bottle of ATF in here we can use as a lubricant, and we should be good. It's like tomato sauce. I'm doing the same technique as what I did when I did the block deck as well. So this is the surface I've managed to achieve. It's the finest and the smoothest I can get it to. You can kind of see that there are micro scratches here, but nothing sticks out. There's no deep scratches. I can't catch my fingernail on it, and I can't even catch a feeler gauge on it. So it's pretty smooth, and it feels really smooth. There was a bit of trial and error with this, because admittedly I haven't done this before, and also I'm not 100% happy with the finish. I ended up going from the Bunnings silicon carbide stone because you can see there are bits where it's catching and embedded bits of, I guess it's aluminium, into the stone. So I went back to Bunnings and I picked up this aluminium oxide fine stone. This is their finest version, so it was a bit more expensive, I think 44 bucks, but this is super fine. And this is the surface I've managed to achieve. I've used automatic transmission fluid as a lubricant, and I've also used WD-40. It kind of renders the same finish, and this is hours of work, so I'm quite happy with it. The next thing that I wanted to check was the flatness, and of course we should have checked this before. So I went and checked the flatness with the tools I have, and it was not flat. I think I could fit a 0.08 mil in there, and of course I did recheck in a few different spots. It didn't check out well. I was using spirit level at first, and I was using my steel ruler, and of course they are not designed to be checking for flatness. So I went and bought this. This is what is called a precision straight edge, and it's just a piece of steel, but it's precise down to 0.02 of a mil, I believe. So we just plonk it on there in the middle for now. We're gonna check the middle of the cylinder deck, and I've got a couple feeler gauges here. Honda's recommendation is 0.05 of a mil. So we just go in here and check with the feeler gauge. And that checks out all good. So we also have to go and check on the entire deck surface. So you just pick it up, move it in a few different angles, and then check with the feeler gauge. So now we know it's true. How true? Not very true actually, because I could fit a 0.03 millimeter feeler gauge under the straight edge in the very middle. So tells me it's not flat, but it's good enough for now. It's still within spec. So I guess now we can start reassembling the valve train. At this point, it's just been nice being organized for a change. I've got everything in boxes when I disassembled and cleaned everything up. So here we've got our springs, intake and exhaust side, got our valves here, and our rocker arm assembly hardware, and everything's gonna go in like Lego, I think. I'm gonna start with the valves. So they're all numbered. So number one, I'm gonna put some oil on the shaft. While we're here, we're also going to install the oil feed block off. This is an Allen key plug, and you can see I've shaved the top of it off just so it sits, I guess, below the deck surface. I'm going to use this AeroSeal. I mean, this is meant to seal on the tapered thread, so I guess it's just a bit of lubricant. Make sure it goes down nicely. I don't know. What do you guys use? Let me know in the comments. Alright, it's time to flip the head over, and I just want to add a bit more, I guess, protection of the deck, and I actually don't know how clean this cardboard is, so I'm going to tape this up. I guess it'll also keep the valves from popping out. Alright, let's flip it over. We're going to install our valve seals, and I've gone with the SuperTech ones. They were the cheapest on the market, and I got them from JDM Yard. Yeah, it looks like the blue ones are exhaust, and intake is the brown one. Alright, after a bit of trial and error, we've got most of the valve stem seals in, so you can see the blue exhaust ones, they are all in. And I have some experience I'd like to share. So yeah, the first couple were not good. So I bought 2 sets of these valve stem seals, and I ended up using and replacing all of my exhaust side because I just wasn't happy with it and I had been doing them the wrong way. Point number 1, WD-40 is not the right lubricant to use. So oil, so this is the LMA oil I used. They just went on perfectly after that. Messed around with WD-40 quite a bit and wasted a lot of time. So point number 2, the internet tells me that an 11mm deep socket, 12-point deep socket is the best thing to do. I was just kind of scratching up the rubbers on the seal, like that one you can see over there. You can see all the other ones that I have replaced. They've turned out pretty good. And shout out Kitty, told me just use a 10mm and be gentle with tapping it on. So I've got one more intake valve stem seal to do. Let's do a demo. All right, so our final valve stem seal going onto that valve. So I'm going to dunk it in the oil we're using to soak up the LMAs. And this valve is already lubricated from when we inserted it through the guide. Just pressing it down with your hand to the base. Coming in with our 10mm deep socket and just squaring it up. So just looking side to side, top and bottom. Just trying to get it as square as possible and just gently push it in with your hand. And it should self-center. And you'll see that seal is already halfway sunken. Once you've done that, just a quick visual inspection to make sure it looks as square as possible, and then you can come back with that deep socket, and just with my rubber mallet I'm just going to gently give it a couple taps. And once that's done, you can just grab the top of the valve and you should have up and down movement with relatively no resistance. So we've got good play there. And also another thing I want to check as well is to make sure that spring you can see on that valve stem seal is still seated. And that's done now, so we've got all 16 valve stem seals installed. Let's move on to the valve springs. So these are the valve springs going into this head. These are from an Integra Type R. Shout out Kitty who donated these to the build. This is a B18 A2 head, which only comes with dual valve springs on the intake side. So this is from the B16. It's a single spring. The upgrade here, we have stiffer intake and exhaust springs, I believe. And this is the exhaust. It's a dual spring. So yeah, I just wanted the option to be able to rev this out to, you know, even beyond 9,000 RPM and not have to worry too much about valve float. Regardless, it's a cheap upgrade. It's steel, it's strong, and it's OEM. Yeah, let's install these. Thank you, Kitty. Just got the last couple to do. Each one you do, you just get quicker. So it's been fun actually. I quite enjoy this stuff. I think the key to doing these valve springs is just to make sure that valve will come out, I guess, as center as possible between the retainer. A liberal amount of assembly lube. One of my keepers. Just place it into the grease, the lube or whatever you want to call it, and then once it's half seated, just slowly turn it around to the other side, and the I guess the grease will hold it in place so it won't slip out. That's it. Grab your other keeper and just gently on top, and that's easy. As easy as that. Wind the spring back, and that's it. Simple as that. Alright, we can now go and install our factory lost motion assemblies. They've been sitting in this oil for a couple of weeks now. So yeah, we'll just go and put them one by one back in their place. These are cool little things. Honestly, I don't know how far we're going to get with the factory LMAs. I mean, I've never had an issue with them. For years, I still ran the factory ones, but I know others have had issues with these, the stock ones, and they do the very, very popular Skunk 2 upgrade. The last thing we're going to do tonight is to assemble our rocker assembly, and again, it's just been good to be organized. We are number and color coded. It's all being cleaned as well, so we just need to dunk it in the oil before we assemble this. And I'm going to put a bit of assembly lube on this shaft. The rocker assembly installs onto the head the opposite way it came off the head, so it's really straightforward and you can't really get it wrong. Just make sure you use plenty of lube. I've also gone and put the locating pins into the head, so that locks the shaft in place, the rocker arm shaft. And yeah, it's ready to go onto our block. So tomorrow Chris is going to come over and we should be able to finish this engine, and I'm so excited about this. It's looking really good.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're about to put our two pieces of the engine together.
Yeah, it's been good to get to this stage because I feel like it's kind of coming together. A lot of people have been asking me, how's TEGAN coming along? And I've been like, oh, look, not much has happened. But I think once the engine is sorted, everything's going to fall in place. And the gearbox as well. So we're going to get the head onto our block. Because we have two surfaces which are not dead straight, we are also going to be applying some copper gasket.
Some copper gasket.
I've seen a lot of people use this with good success. So anyways, we're going to give it a go.
Yeah.
Never done before here, but I think we'll be okay. We have tried to clean as best as possible. You can also see that our deck, yeah, you can see the imperfections from when we ran the stone over it. And that's why we're using the copper, just to smooth out the surface as much as possible and give us the maximum seal.
Yeah.
I've gone ahead and finished the head off and it's ready to go on. So I guess the next step now is to get the studs in. So yeah, we'll quickly go and throw them into the block. ARP head stud. Our dowel here is a little modified. It's a little tight, but it went down.
Hey, just to let you know, you're coming home next round with the silver one of them, yeah? You're not getting the gold on, bro.
So he thinks. So just hand tight, doesn't need to be over tightened.
And how come we just hand tighten them? How come they're not over tightened?
Because when you tighten the nut, if it starts to slip, as you torque it down and it starts to slip, it can potentially over tighten in the block.
And then crack your block.
And yeah, crack your block. I haven't seen it happen before, but I've heard about it. Have you seen it?
No.
If there's one thing I've learned from Chris about spray cans, you got to really shake it up.
I'm just so used to shaking.
He's just always shaking it up.
Got it, man. Got to have the goodness sitting off the bottom, you know? You're meant to just do one good thick coat. I don't know. Looks like it, eh?
He's the god of runs. That's what we call him.
Imagine that.
The god of runs.
Imagine I've got to run in this.
It looks mostly dry now, but on the can it does say it's ready to install an assembly and reassemble when the solvent is dry, which I think it is, to be honest. This requires a level of coordination.
A lovely golden gasket.
Oofed. I almost installed it backwards.
Is it?
Yeah. This is exhaust. Oofed.
Happy days.
That's exciting. All right, I guess we'll start talking up the head studs. At this point, we realized we hadn't applied ARP lubricant onto the threads in the block. Since we've already installed our head with the copper spray, we remove each stud one by one with the cylinder head installed and reinstall with the thread lubricant. Okay, we can start talking. So we're going to start with our 40 foot-pound.
Yep.
Chris is starting with a sequence from the center of the head.
Actually,
and then it's going to kind of be like a crisscross pattern. Cross pattern. Click, click. It's a nice little torque wrench you got there.
Thank you. It's a new one. That's the click.
It's got an interesting click. Like,
yeah, it's just
compared to my King Chrome, mine's like a.
Yeah, this is like, I don't know. It's just more. It's like a really smooth torque wrench. This
finesse.
It's way nicer than my older two.
Parramatta Machine Shop.
That's ours.
we're just working out our covers just to make sure it kind of all fits up nicely. And I think we've figured it out. So here we're using obviously the B18 upper cover, which sits underneath the cam gear. And we've had to make a little modification here just to kind of cut the corners because it was kind of intruding on the block. So this should work out pretty well, and then our B18 cover will go right on like that. And then later we should be able to slot in our recover. I think that's how it goes. Got the upper cover on and we can put our cams in. Cam assembly lube. We're just gonna put it all across the mating surfaces that the cam shaft will sit on. Our cam shaft, so I'm just gonna pop it over.
These are also brand new OEM Honda.
Yeah, I forgot to mention,
seals
we did
as well.
replace the seals. We haven't done a dodgy on the seals. Just the OEM Honda ones. You can see I've got everything laid out on the bench. These are all our caps and they've all been cleaned. What I'm going to do is apply a bit of my favorite Honda Bond RTV.
Would you recommend a liberal amount or just a little schmear?
Well, if you know me, it's always liberal with RTV.
Yeah, it's always icing cakes.
But I think I'm being pretty liberal here. They're all labelled and numbered.
That's a good thing about Honda motors.
Yeah.
Everything's labelled from the bottom end to the top end. Everything has arrows and labels on them.
It can kind of only go in one way.
Yeah.
3, 4. They've all got dowels on them as well, so they kind of self-locate. Going back to my box, get all the bolts cleaned up. Now I just gotta remember where I put them. And the cam rails are back on the motor, all bolts torqued to spec and ready for timing. What we want to do is make sure both our cams and our crankshaft are at top dead center when we do this timing process. So this little tool here will insert between the cam and keep them locked into place. Like that. It's even got a little guide in the middle. You can see the 2 tooth marks where it will show top dead center on both the intake and exhaust cams. So it's going to make things a lot easier for us. We're reusing our tensioner, but I've gone and bought a new bolt. Don't ask. There we go. And then we're going to grab the belt which came off the engine. So when I looked at it, it's actually in pretty good condition. A genuine belt as well. The engine's pretty much done. We're just putting a few covers back on, so we'll quickly go and do that, and then she's sweet.
Yeah, get the valve cover on.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Look at that, it looks so good on the stand. It's coming together, and I can't wait to drop it in. The first start is going to be a good one. I'm a bit nervous. Yeah. I want to show you guys. We played around with the tensioner, and because I wasn't able to get the exhaust side to tension up, it seemed like the intake side had more tension, holding more tension than the exhaust. So what we ended up doing was just levering this up a little bit and then tightening it down. And now this is acceptable. This side is a little bit tight, but I think we'll be okay. I think part of the reason why we have this little issue is because we are using a B18 head We've changed to the B16 water pump, but we're still using the B18 B belt. It's also a used one. Main thing I'm checking for is just the timing belt clearance to the inner cover. I think it's all good. Top cover, B16. Courtesy of CGR. It's nice. Now I'm going to put it on dry for the moment because I still need to come back and do the valve lash, but for now, this will do. Let's come around here.
Wow.
Wow.
Very pretty.
Oh yeah. What a process. I really enjoyed this engine build. My first full engine, and I think it's turned out really good. I think we tried to do as good of a job as we could.
Yeah.
Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's probably going to be a bit of a long one. In the next video, we're going to work on our transmission because we can have all the power in the world, but if we can't put it down on the track, it doesn't even matter. So it's going to be an exciting one. We're going to pull apart a really janky looking gearbox. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, make sure you let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Signing out from Parramatta Machine Shop.